Hey, happy Homebrew Wednesday, guys. Just wanted to check in and do yet another sour beer update. I submitted my sour beer to a competition. It's a local competition. There was about 150 entries. I was up against 8 other people in a combined category of Belgians and Saisons, and I won blue ribbon. So here's the medal. So I got first place in Belgian French Sour, Belgian Strong kind of combined category. I guess the BJCP combines categories now if there's not enough people in individual categories. So I submitted the beer to 3 different categories: Goose, Lambic, and wood-aged beers. The Lambic was a still version of the beer. The wood-aged and the Goose were the exact same beer. Both of these were the beer that I made from the dregs of Cascade Brewing Creek and Russian River Temptation. I made it into a Solera project, and this was the first pull. Also, Ryan Rashawn did a review of the beer, so I'll put a link somewhere in the video. You can check it out. He gives a really good description of the beer. So thank you, Ryan, for reviewing that beer. So I've got my score sheets here. All 6 of them. There's 2 judges per beer, and 3 entries, so six score sheets. I scored a 43 on the Goose category. That's the one I won the ribbon for. Both judges gave it a 43. It was interesting, the same judges also judged the Lambic. One judge said he thought the Lambic was a little bit young, a little bit watery is another comment I got. But that scored a 36.5 average, so it was still a pretty good score. That's in the higher end of very good. 43 is in the higher end of excellent. Above that is outstanding or world class. One criticism I got was the same thing I got from Ryan Rashawn and from other friends of mine who have tasted the beers, that it lacks a little bit of complexity to make it a really world class beer. Hopefully I can work on that. But going back to the Lambic, what's interesting about Lambic is that it's supposed to be still, and it's allowed a little more oak character, which I thought really fit the beer, because the beer had a lot of oak flavor. I thought perhaps too much oak flavor for the Goose category. But when it comes to Lambics, you don't really taste a lot of them unless you brew sours yourself. I think I've had maybe 2 commercial Lambics. One of them was a Cantillon Grand Cru, and those beers are not easy to come by. So that's a really tough category to judge unless you brew sour beers. So it is what it is. Now the oak aged category, I got a 29.5. So that's on the higher end of good. They were confused about the beer category. I think I got docked a lot of points for that. I entered it in, when it's wood-aged beer or smoked beer, it can be any base beer, but with wood added or aged in an oak or any wood barrel. That's a really tough category to judge, along with like categories like spiced and vegetable beers or fruit beers, because it's such a wide variety of base beers that you can use, and as a judge you need to be familiar with whatever the base beer is. So for some reason they thought that fruit should have been declared in the beer. They thought they were tasting fruit because it is a pretty fruity beer, but of course I didn't add any fruit, so I got docked a lot of points for that. So that might have been, I don't think it was my fault, because I entered it in as a Lambic, so maybe there was a miscommunication there with the judging. So all in all, when it comes to judging sour beers, you never really know what you're going to get. So you might submit something and get a really good score, you might submit something and get a really bad score, even though you know it's a better beer. It seems like a crapshoot. So Ryan Rashawn made some interesting comments on the same video that he reviewed my beer on. He was talking about how the BJCP should get a new category, or maybe a set of categories, for American wild ales, because we're really brewing these beers differently than your traditional Lambics and Gooses. So hopefully that will happen. So cheers, guys. If anybody has any questions about my score sheets and they want to know any details or anything like that, feel free to leave a comment. And in the meantime, cheers.